wokies pretend they love strong women until they actually see a strong woman who says, wait a minute, you can't control me. You can't tell me what opinions I'm allowed to have, and I will say whatever I want to say. Then, oh no, there's a problem. So it turns out they don't like strong women after all, do they? No. They like women they can control. And Gina Carano is one who will not be controlled. As we know, there's a lawsuit going on between her and Disney for her wrongful firing on The Mandalorian after because of her political views. Mind you, other stars in the franchise or in that work with Disney in general have said things in a similar vein, but in a different political angle. And so they get a pass, of course. So Gina now says, she denounces Disney. She says, I don't worship your business, and my God is bigger than Disney. Love to see it. Now, this is somebody who, you know, she really, when she was speaking out against this, she was speaking out against the jab mandates and her not wanting to comply with all of that, which is great. I got canceled for all that too. Speaking out against the jab mandates, especially. It was like a big moment where it was, okay, I used to do work mainly in mainstream gaming industry, doing hosting and all that. And at that point, that was all thrown out the window, which was to be expected, but which was worth it. And in Gina Carano's case, this is worth it to her to speak out and to not submit to all of this satanic ideology, which most of it is. So good for her on this. Now, let's go ahead and dive into this article. Former The Mandalorian actress Gina Carano denounced the Walt Disney Company and declared, I will not worship your business. Good idea now, especially now with how much Disney has been tanking. Maybe all this satanic stuff isn't working out so great for y'all after all, is it, Disney? As first reported by Jack Dunn at Fandom Pulse, in an interview on the Sean Ryan Show on YouTube, Carano shared, Satan's made these globalists believe that they can play God and that they are their own gods. And it's just a horrible, ugly thing that they are using and that they will use until, the end. Carano was then specifically asked about satanic rituals in Hollywood and how relevant they are. She responded, just from watching and being spiritually aware, I guess, so many of these actors that do so well, it's like, I am my own God. They have everything together. They have the wife, they have the kids, they don't drink alcohol, they are in shape, and all of this, but they believe they are their own God. And this is a thing, and this is a challenge that I say to atheists, and they get really mad at me when I say this, but if you're not following Jesus Christ, you are following Satan. Now, this particularly makes atheists mad because they're like, no, I don't follow anybody. I follow myself. Satan wants you to follow yourself. So you are following Satan. You are doing exactly what Satan wants you to do. I mean, if you just look at the first sin, right, with Eve, what was it that the serpent told Eve? The serpent convinced Eve to follow herself, to be her own God, essentially. And that is what atheism is. That is that do what thou wilt thing. It is literally satanic ideology. So be mad, I guess, but it is the truth. And I would encourage you to find Jesus Christ, because trust me, it's not gonna go well for you if you are worshiping yourself and following yourself. Not only that, but people, I'm a moral person. I don't need the Bible to be moral. Oh, you're a moral person by your own standards, by the own morality you're making up. Congratulations. Good job. Literally anyone can say that. Okay, let's continue. When asked if these actors say it and articulate, Carano replied, yeah, a lot of people say that they're their own God, and it's a scary thing because I feel that's almost a harder wall to break down than maybe drugs or alcohol or sex or something that's more obvious, is that when you believe that you are your own God, that doesn't leave room for the real God. Correct. And there's people who, yeah, if you are not following Jesus Christ, then you're following Satan, and you think you're following yourself. But that's not the case. And just also how arrogant and how brainless. And I say this as somebody who rebelled against my faith before and tried that whole path, and I was being brainless. But thankfully, I learned better. So I'm not here to sit on my high horse and act like I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I've accepted the fact that I'm not perfect, and hence why I need Jesus Christ. So a lot of people are like, hey, don't you think it's a bit arrogant to say your way is the right way? It's not my way. It's the way of Jesus Christ, and it is the only way. And I submit to that. And I am not too prideful to say, hey, I'm human, I'm flawed, and this is why I lean on Jesus Christ, who is not flawed and who is perfect. So it's not my way. It's Jesus Christ. All right, Carano then noted, she has not always been this spiritual, but came closer to God after she was persecuted by the Walt Disney Company. This persecution led her to begin reading scripture, specifically Psalms. Every morning I'd read a chapter in Psalms, and I also read this book called A Silver Refined. And the book was basically saying it's not going to be easy, but you'll get through it, and it will be worth it, and you'll be refined. A little bit later in the interview, Carano recalled the social media mobs targeting her on Twitter. She stated, I found myself drawing my line, and the more I drew my line and held on to God, the more I realized, okay, all right, I do not worship your business, and I have this in an email, which is why I don't mind if my emails come out. I said, I do not worship your business. She continued, and I have done plenty wrong in my life that I will need to account for, and I will need to apologize for. But at this moment, I haven't done anything wrong. And I am not going to put out one of these fake apologies that you have everybody else put out that mean nothing, that degrade them, that take away from their words. Every celebrity who apologized, they took their voice away to where the next time they speak, it doesn't mean anything because it's just a copy pasted regular apology. And I was not going to do that. So I wrote out my own long, big statement. I was like, you want to make me a statement? I'll make a statement. That's the thing too, is these celebrity apologies, a lot of these influencer apologies, all this stuff it's just written by a PR team. It's not even genuine anyway. She elaborated, it wasn't offensive. I understand. I grew up a tomboy. I understand that things are different and people are going through things. It's a very well-written thing. It's just, I don't worship your business, and my God is bigger than Disney. So this is where I'm at. Hopefully those emails get printed or read one day and help shed some light on what was going on, she added. As for what she hopes for her lawsuit against Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company, she said, at what point does this corruption get revealed is my question. And at the same time, I want so badly to get back to my life. I don't want to spend years in court at the same time. So I have this battle in me, and I know the right answer will come. And I don't have that right answer at the moment. I definitely think I've proven that I'm not afraid to fight and take things through whatever end, but I also want this country to heal, Carano continued. I want to move on, and I want to make art. I'm sure people are pretty tired of me talking anyways. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see me get back on film and kick butt again, and that would be my victory, is to have a movie come out that people absolutely love. See me back in my element. My personal victory would be succeeding and moving past one of the worst cancellations in Hollywood history, she stated. Still, later in the interview, Carano made it clear she is going to continue fight in the culture war. She explained, I think one of the things where people are struggling with is fighting the culture war, which is why I chose to go to the conventions where I'm not necessarily welcomed by more liberal cities who have made judgment calls on me that they don't know why, because they've read some skewed article. I get invited to go to public speaking events at Republican places, and I don't want to go to those. I want to stay in the art space because that's where people shy away from. And that's where we need to be. Somebody needs to be fighting in the art space, she declared. That's where I want to fight. I want to fight right there in the art space, telling stories and making art in every form that people can enjoy and feel comfortable with. And at the same time, still pushing boundaries. It still might not be for everyone. She then detailed she is working on a new movie. Our first plan is the movie, which we're about a month away from having a finished script, and one more trip to LA, and it's going to be there. And then from there, my manager, who I am his only client because I needed him and it was just a perfect sit, then he's going to show me how to do the rest of it because this is what he does. I know the right people will come, she continued. I know through the last 3-4 years, so many people want to be a part of my projects. They're waiting for me. They're waiting for something for me to give them, something for me to give them to buy, something for me to have them to watch. They're rooting for me in such a heavy way that I'm going to give that, and it's going to be amazing. I don't say that very often, but I say that with confidence. It's going to be cool. Well, let's hope that she is able to get back into the space in terms of doing acting, taking on these kick butt roles. I mean, obviously she's working on something right now, which is great, and I hope it's a success. But I will say, with the way the culture war is right now and with how things are going, I don't think we're at that point yet to where a lot of the mainstream companies will still hire her. Likewise, just for me, for having my opinions and the things that I say and the things that I do, and me believing in the Bible and not being one of those lukewarm Christians, those fake Christians who just say they're a Christian but doesn't actually believe in the Bible and conform to the worldly ideologies instead because they want to be friends with the world. Because I'm not that, a lot of all mainstream companies will not work with me right now. So I know the nature of this, and I knew the nature of that. I knew that I was throwing away my mainstream career because I was vocal about my faith and just my views on the world and everything going on with at that time was the jab mandates and all that and so on and so forth. But because I would not comply with their narratives, I knew that was getting me blacklisted. And hey, I might never work for mainstream video game companies again. I've accepted that. But I think it's far more important that I stood on my principles. And I think the same with Gina Carano. It's far more important that she stood on her principles. And I do hope that one day she can get more mainstream work again. But I don't think we're there yet. But hopefully one day. We'll see. The tides are already starting to turn to a certain degree. So either we will see some course correction going on there, or perhaps Jesus will come sooner than we think and will abolish evil altogether. And that will be a crazy time whenever all that happens. If you know, you know. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want me to read the Bible to you, you can watch my Bible channel, Bible Time with Melanie Mack. Thank you all again. I'll catch you next time. And in the meantime, go boom.